While it may be cold outside, things are getting toasty warm at Global Voice Broadcasting. Heat up your winter nights with the hottest topics, the hottest celebrities, and today's best music. It's why Global Voice Broadcasting is becoming your 24/7 home for the music and talk you want right now. Discover your favorite shows and music anytime at globalvoicebroadcasting.com. Welcome to the world of Cabarebia, the world where Broadway, jazz, comedy, and pop share the spotlight, and a 2-drink minimum. With your host, producer, director Clifford Bell, keeping the world safe for live performances in intimate settings on Global Voice Broadcasting.
And welcome back. Welcome back to Cabarebia on Global Voice Broadcasting, my weekly rumination on all things relevant to the nightclub experience, live entertainment in intimate settings. I'm so glad to have you with us today. This is going to be a very interesting show. I have had the most wild weekend. I've been at the NAAM convention down in Anaheim, the National Association of Music Merchandisers. And for anybody who has ever been there before, it is stimulus overload. It's one of the most coveted tickets in the music industry. And I took my pal with a camera and got some interviews and had a very fun time, and I'm going to share that with you today. But also today is the first time on my 6 months here at Global Voice Broadcasting where I'm presenting an episode with two subject matters. So the first half of the show we're going to talk about NAAM, and the second half of the show we're going to talk about a new concert series that I've been working on creating with my collaborator, who's my in-studio guest here today, Jackie Gibson. Jackie Gibson is a wonderful singer, an absolutely exquisite voice, one of my favorite voices I've ever had the pleasure to work with. And she actually came to me with this idea for a new fundraising effort of a jazz series that we're getting ready to start. So in the second half of the show, we're going to talk to Jackie about that. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for asking me.
Jackie, I'm so glad to have you in my little home away from home here at Global Voice Broadcasting. So we'll be back to you in just a minute.
Alrighty.
Okay? Well, actually 29 minutes. How's that? So for anybody who doesn't know about NAAM, NAAM is a trade show. And yearly it's one of the most important trade shows to people that are in the professional musical instruments business. Basically, it's where all of the new technology is introduced. And every year all the vendors come and all the buyers come, and it's where all the innovations are displayed for the first time. And I have a personal relationship to it because of my brother. I have a brother who has a long and achieved background in the music industry, having worked with Herbie Hancock for 38 years, Santana, Neil Young. Bryan was one of the participants in the revolution of synthesizer inventions, and everything that's associated with Herbie, Bryan was on board for and had a hand in, and he is like the mayor of NAAM and has been for years. He's been there since it was that from the very beginning, and so I've been going most every year, and you hang out and you see people. I mean, it's not unusual to see Stevie Wonder or Kenny Loggins or Paul McCartney, or just people walking around shopping. Basically, it's a hard ticket to get, and once you get in, it's kind of a rarefied environment. So I wanted to. Gabe hit us with that first graphic of the NAAM show. That's just a scene from it. Last year, my brother Bryan, hosted a panel. Gabe, go ahead with the next picture. Hosted a panel with Narada Michael Walden. Narada Michael Walden, very famous producer. As a musician, he's a drummer, and he is responsible for so many of the streak of hits that Whitney Houston had, Aretha Franklin, George Michael. And last year, our friend Bobby Marcus, who has been on this program before, found out Bryan was going to come and knew that he had a long history with Narada, so they set up a seminar Narada had just written a book about his early years with Whitney. Gabe hit us with that. A very sweet memoir of the period of time when all of the I think they have the world record for the most #1 hits in a row of any artist ever. They had like 8 #1 hits in a row at Whitney's heyday, and most all of them were produced by Narada. So that's his memoir of that time period. It's very sweet. So I took my friend Mark Saltarelli, who is a very fabulous filmmaker, who's also been on the show before. And when I first invited him, I was strictly inviting him because he was my friend. It's a long walking around day, and being with my brother is always an adventure in wildlife. And so I just was thinking to myself, who do I want to hang out with that day? And I thought I'd invite Mark. And so he writes me back and says, "Oh, that sounds fun. I'd love to. Can I bring my camera?" And it never even occurred to me to have him bring his camera. But once he decided to bring his camera, I thought, well, we'll make the most of this. And so this was just this weekend. I mean, this was the last 36 hours that all this happened. And we shot a lot of great stuff, and there was no way I could turn it all around and have it for you here today. So Mark burned some midnight oil, and he made this little, I think it's about 12 minutes, a little 12-minute of our escapades, and an interview with my brother, several interviews with my brother. And I hope you'll find it interesting. One of the things I have found over the years that NAAM is the place where so many different people from the musical community want to be and intersect. The extreme important jazz people all there, the rock and rollers are there, the heavy metal people are there. It's the place where all the hip innovations are revealed. So it's just a cool place to be, and I wanted to share it with my viewers, and I wanted you to meet my illustrious brother. So this is a 12-minute video package that we slammed together very quickly for you. My friend Mark did, and we're thinking that we're going to take a little time and take a month or so and actually make a more polished presentation down the road from all the footage we got, because we got some hilarious things. But please enjoy. Global Voice Broadcasting. Today, as promised, we're at the world-famous NAAM convention, the National Association of Music Merchandisers. And we're here with my illustrious brother, Bryan Bell, who I jokingly refer to as the mayor of NAAM. Not really jokingly, because Bryan is a leading technology gentleman in the world of gearheads, and this is his playground. So come along with us, won't you?
Welcome, Cabarabia, to the world of NAAM.
So everybody else here at NAAM is very interested in all of the technology and all of the equipment that lines the 4 floors of the convention center. But I'm interested in the pretty colors. They have walls and walls of pretty colors. So we found a quieter corner here at the Anaheim Convention Center. Sensory overload every place else in the building, but we have a nice clear space. So I wanted to talk a little more, give you guys a glimpse into my brother's background. So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you've been doing.
Well, my name's Bryan Bell, and I'm the president of SynthBank, which is a consulting service for technology to help both creative and business people improve their processes. My entire career of working with artists was focused on amplifying the creative process. So using technologies in ways that helped the artist create their work more efficiently and often more cost effectively or something like this. And my early systems also helped artists record all of the parts by themselves. So we didn't make drummers sit around and play time. We use drum machines to provide time while we practiced. And along the way, the personal computer was invented, and Herbie and I were introduced to it 5 years before it was
Now,
public.
who would that Herbie be?
It was Herbie Hancock. Was my client from 1975 to 1983, and we collaborated on a large number of custom systems, and culminating in me developing a system to sell synthesizer sounds online. And then by 1984, it turned out that the compact disc player was equal to the synthesizer keyboard sounds in the Fairlight. So we actually were one of the companies that pioneered online music. I had a great run for 25 years in the entertainment industry before my technology business got bigger than my music business. After Herbie, I started with John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu Orchestra, then 8 years, 15 albums with Herbie, 4 or 5 years with Carlos Santana, 3 years with Neil Young, a year with In Excess, and then I started doing the large supergroups, designing their tours, stages, and all of their equipment. And I was really very fortunate because there was a lot of activity going on in the electronic music space, and there were very few of us available to do the work. So it was kind of a golden years. And I quit touring in '92 to work on The Tonight Show for 2 years with Branford Marsalis. And then I quit touring, I quit doing entertainment for a little while to work in financial services for a friend. And in that world, I was still pushing the envelope with the the electronic distribution of intellectual property. In this case, instead of moving sounds, we were moving text and tables and graphics. And it was great because we continued to push the envelope and use technology to solve problems for people.
And Bryan and I came to a crippling crossroads in our relationship when he called to tell me that Barbra Streisand had called him to do her backyard concert in Malibu, and he had turned it down. And I don't believe I've ever really looked at you the same since.
Yes, well, I don't think it was that simple of a deal. It was more like
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young reunited that same night. And
No, I think it was
you
Herbie.
wanted to be there.
No,
It was that.
Okay.
Believe me.
Okay, yes, I had done some work with Neil Young that was being used with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and I would love the opportunity again to work with Miss Streisand if it ever
September
came up.
6th, 1980.
But it was one of those situations where she was using some sort of Yamaha instrument, and the Yamaha people knew I was familiar with it. And it was just simply, can you go help? And I was unavailable. So
I'm almost over it. 25 years later, I'm almost over it.
to me, it wasn't a snub. It was a situation where I wasn't available.
Anything else you want to say to our listeners, our viewers? You know, we're video here on this podcast. You know, it's not just listening.
That's exciting. I think that, well, I have a fond place in my heart for live music, particularly live music in intimate settings.
My tagline.
And I don't know anyone else in the world who's more involved and in love with the notion of the Great American Songbook and in helping artists develop their careers. And so whenever I have the opportunity, I like to attend Clifford shows and help out whenever I can. I actually was one of the producers of Clifford's big live show, Legit at Last.
One day we'll have to dedicate a podcast to that. I have all the tapes. You know what I put on Facebook yesterday? You took my very close friend Kelly Cardy and her twin sister backstage at Carnegie Hall.
Yes.
And got Herbie Hancock to sing Happy Birthday to them. And they have a picture that's very cherished to them that we put on Facebook yesterday. You'll have to see it. It's hysterical.
Yes, I have a picture of myself with the two girls, which I cherish even more than the picture of Herbie with the two girls.
I didn't put that one on Facebook yet, but you have also had Herbie call me up to sing me Happy Birthday too, which was very nice.
Yeah, Herbie is a very generous and wonderful friend, and it was funny. We were working together earlier this week and reminiscing, and we realized that we've been working together for 38 and a half years.
Wow.
So it's been a wonderful relationship. He was our best man, and he continues to be one of our closest family friends after all these years.
All of this technology, and all I care about is the twinkle curtain. Sad. Brian, I'm so glad that you could be on my podcast today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know that there's a couple things I wanted to talk to you about now that I have you in close proximity. First of all, you've just produced a new album with a group called Duality.
The band is actually called Nestler and Houghton.
All right.
The album is Duality.
Tell me about it.
It's two young singer-songwriters from Oregon. One plays guitar and one plays cello and everything else.
They've gone the very fancy packaging route.
Yes.
Check this out. For those of us who produce CDs, this is the Full Tilt Boogie. Look at that!
And I'm very excited to say we even did the
There's even a record.
printing on the CD.
Nice. And you have some heavyweight players like Freddie Washington and James Levi and Vicki Randall from the Tonight Show band. Anybody else you want to praise?
The
Ray
keyboard,
Parker Jr.
Yes, the keyboard player Dave Matthews and the percussionist Carl Corazon are from the current Santana band. And Brian Davis is touring and recording with Pink Martini. Jay Coder plays quite often with Steve Miller. Torley was the winner of the OMG synthesis contest at the Moog Fest. He's quite an amazing synthesist. And Nico Bolas, one of my favorite engineers in the world, well known for Neil Young, Boss Skaggs, Leanne Rimes, and many, many more. Don Henley. Nico mixed the record for me at his new studio at Capitol Records. So we were very fortunate to get wonderful participation from my friends.
Let's see what we got you here. We also noticed another one of your badges here is the Bob Moog Foundation. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with that.
Well, the Bob Moog Foundation is a 501c3 charity that's devoted to the legacy of the inventor of the synthesizer, Bob Moog, and their mission involves education. They have a program where they teach second grade children music. They teach them science and math and physics using electronic music. So it's really an exciting thing. They learn all about sound and some things, and it inspires creativity in the younger children to use those tools to do
And
it.
you knew Bob, right?
Yes, I worked with Bob starting in 1974.
Uh-huh.
And I was a real fan of his work, and he helped me often throughout the years when I was doing custom systems for some of my big clients like John McLaughlin and Herbie Hancock and Carlos Santana. And the foundation also has a mission for historical preservation. They have an archive that is comprised of documents, schematics, antique synthesizers, notes. It's a really amazing collection.
And we grabbed a shot of Michelle, Bob's daughter, to
Yes.
wave to the camera. Tell us a little bit about Michelle.
Michelle we refer to as the Moogstress, and she is the executive director of the Bob Moog Foundation, and she's the one leading all those efforts. We also do collaboration with museums. We make exhibits, both traveling and temporary exhibits, and she manages the entire team of the foundation staff. And it's something anybody can donate to, so help those kids and preserve history.
Preserve history.
Yeah, preserve history. So anyone can donate to the Bob Moog Foundation and help with their mission of preservation and education.
Before we say goodbye, Brian, can you help me thank our cameraman, my good friend Mark Saltarelli?
Yes, Mark, thank you very much for helping us on the project.
Yay!
Wow, that was great.
Did you enjoy that, Jackie?
Oh my gosh, yeah, especially the part about the Moog synthesizer.
Yeah.
Because it brought back memories of me going to Mills College and taking electronic music classes.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Where's
Fabulous.
Mills College?
It's up in Oakland, in California.
Oh, right.
And that was one of the...
I spent the weekend at NAAM. Two of Brian's closest friends are Freddie Washington, who's a famous bass player, and James Levi. I have to tell you, they're famous because to me, you know, I know them as my brother's friends. But then I say, oh, I was with Freddie Washington. People go, Freddie Washington.
Their credentials.
But they're such nice guys.
Yeah.
And my brother has this big dinner party, and I always hang out with them. And lots of stories of Oakland.
Oh, yes.
That's what made me think of it. Lots of stories of Oakland.
It's a great campus.
So super fun, and there's more where that came from. So I'm not exactly sure how long it'll take us, but I know Mark wants to put some more thought into it, and we got some really great stuff. We got some celebrity footage that we didn't want to just jam in and show capriciously. So we got some surprises for you. So we'll do a more polished edit of that soon. And I want to thank Bryan and, of course, my friend Mark, who burned the midnight oil to make that happen. So now, before I start up with Jackie, let me take a minute to do my weekly listings segment that I like to call 1001 Cabarabian Nights. And this is where I get to tell people about various things that are going on. I don't have as much live happening right now because it's just the beginning of the year. But I do have some really interesting podcasts coming around, too. First of all, the next live thing actually is this coming Saturday, February 1st. Not everybody will watch this in real time, but for anybody who is, this coming Saturday, February 1st, we're doing Here and Now at the M Bar, and my featured guests will be a gentleman named Andrew Apple, another gentleman named Steve Masterson, and Ms. Jackie Gibson. I've been working with you now about 3 months ago we just met, and we've done a lot. We've done Vitello's and M Bar several times, and
great fun.
There's a beautiful clip up on YouTube of you doing Wild is the Wind. Oh my God, this most gorgeous song.
Thank you.
You know, it's interesting. When we first put your set together, we were choosing songs, and I chose all these songs and said, "Oh, no, we don't need Wild as the Wind. It's too ballady. I don't want it for this first set." And then you sang it for me, and I was like, "I gotta hear that again."
Right.
And then I've made you sing it every single time now. You're like, "Can I sing something else?" I'm like, "No, you have to sing Wild as the Wind."
I do it for you.
All right. So that's February 1st. Then next week, my guest on the podcast is Kate Pazakis, this fabulous woman, incredible singer. She calls herself a beltress and a socialite, which I completely love that self-description. And she runs two of the hot open mics around town. She runs Broadway Bar at Rockwell, and Standing Room Only at Vitello's. And it's where all the kids from Broadway, or kids that should be on Broadway, really killer belter voices, come. It's just showstopper after showstopper. And Kate has recently produced a staged concert version of Rocky Horror Picture Show at Rockwell. They do it like environmentally at Rockwell with killer A+, 5-star A+ talent. And the next one is February 10th. So Kate is my guest this coming Monday, February 3rd, to talk about that. And then the following week, February 10th, my pal Peter Gallagher. I could not be more excited. One of the greatest pleasures of my career was having the opportunity to work with Peter. He had been doing his one-man concert for many years, where he tells, he's a very accomplished actor. I joke that like half of the movies on AFI's Greatest 100 he was been in. He was in The Player, American Beauty, Sex Lies Videotape, While You Were Sleeping. He was the dad on The OC, Summer Lovers, Idolmaker, one of my personal favorites. Just a very iconic gentleman from the movies. But he's also an extraordinary musical talent, one of the best male legit singers I've ever heard. And he did Guys and Dolls on Broadway. But he has a really fascinating show that he's been doing for many, many years, where he talks about his experiences working with Jack Lemmon Jimmy Cagney
Oh, I
and
love
Peter
Cagney.
O'Toole and, like the legends of the business that he crossed paths with. And then he sings his face off. I mean, he's the most gorgeous singer. So I consulted with him a little, collaborated with him, worked on a version of it that he's been doing. And he's got 3 nights over the Valentine's Day weekend at the Segerstrom Center, at the Samueli Theater, gorgeous theater. I played there with Katie Segal, and it's the most beautiful theater. And so I think the dates are February 13th, 14th, and 15th. And Peter will be my guest here on the 10th. I can't wait. He's the nicest, sweetest man alive, so I'm thrilled he's coming. And then another podcast is also a situation I just got hip to. There's a gentleman named Keith Borden who runs something called Soulful Sundays at the new Don't Tell Mamas in West Hollywood. And I am telling you, it is a revival meeting. Now, I am a person who spends 90% of my life at nightclubs. I spend 90% of my life around great singers. And I'm telling you, I got kicked up a step walking into this joint. It's called Soulful Sundays. It's every other Sunday at Don't Tell Mamas. I believe the next one is February 9th. And a woman that I have been working with, Lorena Morrow, fabulous singer, invited me to meet her there one night. And now I'm just, it's like, I was thinking I went last night and I was thinking to myself, it's like being in church and it's like being in school.
Wow.
Because these people sing. They sing, and it is incredible. And they're going to come and do one of the podcasts February 17th. And then on February 24th, I finally get my pal Eli Brueggemann. Eli is a very, very accomplished jazz musician, jazz pianist, who I had the great pleasure of working with a lot when he lived here in LA a few years ago. And then one day, out of the very blue, he got called from a conversation he'd had with somebody a few years previous to be the musical director on Saturday Night Live. So he is now the guy that when Justin Timberlake comes out and sings a funny song, or when Katy Perry does special material, or when any of the regulars do their like fake commercials and stuff like that, it's Eli that's writing and arranging that music. And he's already been nominated for an Emmy for it, and he is the hippest, most fun, sweetest guy. And he's in New York now all the time, so I haven't had the opportunity, but he's coming home for a few days, and he promised me he'd be here. So I'm so excited to have him, and that'll be broadcast on February 24th, which is a perfect entree now to my conversation with Jackie, because what we're going to do is going to actually make its debut on February 23rd. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it? I will just preface to say Jackie is a beautiful singer. We've been working on some stuff, and then I asked her, as I do with people, what do you really want to do? What would you like to see happen with your music, with your singing? And her response was, well, I really want to use it to do some fundraising for some people that I know that are in need. And from that conversation was birthed this idea, which I'll let you tell us about.
Okay, great. Well, in our conversations and talking about it, I really felt that if there was a way to utilize our singing and music with all of the people that we know, the talent and the singers, that it would be great to put something together to help one another.
Right.
That's what it's all about, I feel, is the camaraderie that you build and the friendship that we have with each other as singers and performers and writers and such. And of course, as life is, we have ups and downs, and sometimes some people's downs are a little bit harder than others.
Right.
So if we can be there to catch each other and to help each other,
Right.
I thought, God, that would be so great if we could really help one another and build that camaraderie and that friendship with us.
So the thing that I think that is unique that we're doing is, because, there a lot of people put on fundraisers and stuff. A lot of people put on variety show nights.
Oh, yeah.
But we wanted to do something that would have a special feeling to it. And so we got the idea of doing this from brunch to lunch idea.
Yeah.
And it's like what we're trying to do, we're calling it Corazon, Jazz del Corazon is what we're starting up, the Jazz del Corazon.
Jazz from the heart.
Jazz from the Heart.
You're right.
Which the title comes from Jackie, surprisingly to me, actually has a Latin background. You wouldn't know from her little blue-eyed blonde face over there. But your mother was Hispanic.
Yeah, she was born in Oaxaca, Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
So what? And Jackie has sung for me in Spanish before, and it's so gorgeous. So
Thank you.
we knew we wanted to bring that Latin flavor in, and we wanted it to be of the jazz world, and it's the jazz of the jazz world that we're focusing on giving the aid to, and. So we wanted it to be like a little mini jazz festival. So rather than being like an hour and a half one-shot variety show where you watch a bunch of people in a row, what it's actually going to be is sort of a 3-hour arc of time where 6 different acts are going to do half-hour sets. And people can come and go. It's a restaurant, and people can come and go and have their meal and have their drinks and participate for as much as they want to. They can stay for half an hour. They can stay for an hour. They can stay for 3 hours. But we'll publish the schedule of who's going to be where, when, and it's going to be 5 or 6 different acts in a row in half-hour sets. And it's going to be a little mini jazz festival, which I think is an extremely hip idea.
I think it's wonderful.
Right?
I do. And the location is wonderful. Red,
Yes.
White and Blues.
Yes, our very first one is going to be February 21st. First at Red, White, and Blues, which is a popular jazz club that's been in Pasadena for a long time, although they've just recently moved to this new location. I think less than a year, right?
Exactly.
Like 8 months, I think.
About 8 months ago, right
They
next
said?
to the Pasadena Playhouse.
Yeah, and it's actually adjacent. It's within the courtyard of the Pasadena Playhouse, so it's a gorgeous area, and the people there welcomed us with open arms.
Oh, yeah.
We had our first meeting with a banquets manager or whatever it is, an operations manager, who loved the idea and blah blah blah. We worked it out, and then as we went up the chain to get permission, we actually we hauled the owner out of the office, and he says, "Well, this sounds great." And he was as warm as he could be, and pretty much gave us the run of the joint and through his total support. And,
very exciting.
And basically, we're looking to turn over like 3 hours worth of audiences. So we're looking for a lot of people to come. But our first recipient, as I understand it, is extremely popular. So before I move to talking about him specifically, let me tell you who we have performing. We have the great Quinn Johnson. Gabe, will you hit us with that photog? Actually, we've had the pleasure of having Quinn here on the show with us. Quinn his day job is with the musical director for Steve Terrell, which is a very popular gig. He also is the pianist in the Claire Fisher Band, which is quite an honor, and they won the Latin Jazz Grammy last year for Best Album. And Quinn is a monster. I mean, whatever jazz musicians say about the best that there is, Quinn is the best that there is. So he's going to come do a set. Also, we have Lauren White, who Quinn and I recently just made an album with. Lauren's been a guest here on the podcast show as well. Lauren will be joining us. We have Lorena Morrow, who I spoke of earlier. She's involved over at Soulful Sundays, and she'll be doing a set. We have the great Dolores Scorsese, as I call her, the incendiary Dolores Scorsese. I absolutely love her.
She's great.
And we have Jackie Gibson. Oh, look, there you are, girly girl. You're going to have to sing Wild as the Wind for me, I'm afraid.
Okay.
And our pal Steve Rollins is going to come MD the event for several of the acts. I believe you have Steve there.
Yes.
Steve tours with the Steve March Torme Band, amongst many other great artists. Anyway, so our first recipient is a man named Jerry Monteros.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about him and how you came to know him and etc.
Well, Jerry, I met through his wife, Marnie, actually. Last year I had a little incident with a acorn in which I was left with a hurt paw.
Right.
And Marnie was able to assist me to get me around everything and help me with taking care of my little senior, Mama Caroline, and such.
Right.
And in getting to know her, I learned about her husband's situation, that he was on the heart transplant list for some time. And we would talk, and she would tell me what was going on. And she told me information about what a great musician he was, and longtime resident of Pasadena, working at Sycamore's boys' home as a counselor, and he loved working with kids, but his passion was music,
Right.
and very much involved working in 3 or 4 jobs at music at the same time. He used to be a music teacher not only at the old Broadway department store in Glendale, but also he was working at a studio called the Arc in Monrovia, and with his band Watercolors. And they played quite a bit at a location called the Novel Cafe. And they had quite a following, and they did more of a jazz fusion thing. And plus, he had a lot of private students. So his passion was music. And it was really a big shock when he started having problems breathing. And when he went to the doctor, it said, well, you have an extremely enlarged heart, and you have to stop working. So that was very tough for Jerry, having that situation to deal with. And it took him a long time to finally get out of denial of knowing he had this heart condition.
Right.
So he put himself on the list, and he's been waiting ever since and dealing with trying to stay as healthy as he can while he's waiting for a heart.
Right.
And it was tough. It started really getting kind of down to the wire. He'd been to ER at least 47 times before that. And then they said, you know what, we're really hoping they're going to move on this heart situation. And it finally did on January 10th.
Oh, wow.
He got his new heart January 10th. Yeah.
Yes.
Over at Cedars-Sinai. Incredible hospital, incredible location. I was just, when I went to go visit him, I was just in awe of how everybody was so warm and wonderful and receiving and just so on top of things.
Let's take a minute and show some pictures of Jerry. Gabe, let's see. This is Gary. This is Jerry and his wife, Marnie. Right?
Yeah.
And Jerry and his son, Alex. I just grabbed some pictures off Facebook that I found here. And then this is Jerry, and the picture is captioned as his best friend, Steve McGill.
Yeah, he's in the band.
Yeah.
He's in this band called Watercolors.
Watercolors.
Exactly.
And so he is a popular, beloved, local to Pasadena jazz musician.
Yes.
Which is the whole source of what our original inspiration was. And, you know, I have to say, you know, you're a very sweet woman. I've only recently known you myself, 3 or 4 months, and I know that it is a mark of your character that you're so caretaking and concerned with others. And it's funny that this connection would come, that when you had your hood foot, that you needed to reach out to find somebody to help you take care of this older woman who you have sort of taken over caretaking of, which
several years now.
Yeah. Which is the Mama Caroline you referred to.
Exactly.
And so funny that the rest of this inspiration would spring from your connection with Marnie and meeting her husband. And, you know, once again, the minute we started asking people, you know, Quinn has a very busy career. In fact, I'm working on a project with Quinn and Lauren right now, and Steve Terrell has him traveling so much. We only get a chance to see him, you know, every third, fourth week or whatever sometimes. Right. His time is very limited, and yet when I said, will you do this? Yes, instantly, without batting an eye.
We've had some great responses from people that we've asked. No, it's really
I have not had anybody that didn't jump on. Yeah. So,
cool.
So that is February 23rd. Let's be very clear with how we want to. I didn't put any of the contact information, but I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to find Red, White, and Blues in Pasadena.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're asking people to make reservations. Check on Facebook if you can. For I have a page, the Jazz del Corazon series, a benefit for Jerry Monteros. And any updated information will be on that, and we'll put the schedule of who is going to perform when, so you'll know whether or not you want to come at 10:30 a.m. or 11 or 11:30 or 12. And all we're asking is that people book their tables, make their reservations through the restaurant, because we're sort of hoping, you know, it's already a popular restaurant, and we have reason to believe that we're going to have a lot of support for this. Oh, yeah. So we really would like to fill the restaurant up at least 3 times over the course of the 3 hours. All we're saying, fundraising-wise, is that it's a $20 suggested donation to come. And, you know, with the suggested donation, that means you don't have to pay it if you don't want to, but don't be a deadbeat and pay it if you come. And, of course, you're never limited. I produce a lot of benefits, and it's not uncommon that people will come and write a big check. So
and they have a great
please
brunch
do that as well.
They have a great brunch.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
really nice
it's a nice place. It's a beautiful
location,
place.
gorgeous outdoor
California
patio.
Spanish.
Yes.
Yes, very nice. Very nice. If you've ever been to the Pasadena Playhouse, it's a lovely place. All right, so that once again is February 23rd. We're calling it Brunch to Lunch. The doors will open at 10:30. The first performance will be at 11, and it'll be over by 2:30. So we hope to see you there. Once again, look on Facebook on the Jazz del Corazon series, a benefit for Jerry Monteros. Also, anything will be on my Cabarabia pages too, and Jackie Gibson Music. Her Facebook page will be
Awesome.
Jackie Gibson Music. All right, well, wrapping up, I have one more thing I want to share with you. I've talked a lot earlier about my pal Mark Saltarelli, who helped us with the NAAM adventure, and he was a guest on my podcast promoting his film short, Remember to Breathe, which has been celebrated internationally. It's been in over 30 film festivals across the world, and it's going to have a new viewing at the what used to be Grauman's. Now it's TCL Chinese Theaters. It's going to be in the multiplex part, but it's the fame. To me,
Me
you
too.
know you've arrived when
Yeah.
you played the Chinese
It's quite
Theater.
a landmark.
And there's a film festival called the Holly Shorts, which is a very prestigious film festival in the shorts world, and they are playing it in LA on the big screen on February 28th. So I know that there's been a lot of interest created through social media around this film, Remember to Breathe. It stars Lee Merriweather. Lee, who absolutely just won another award. Let's see, I want to say exactly what. She just won the Spotlight Performance Award at the Hollywood Reel REEL Independent Film Festival. And Lee Merriweather gives a complete star-turn performance as an aging chanteuse, and the circumstances of her life when she crosses paths with a young aspiring singer who is played by Leanne Larkin, who is actually a young Broadway girl on the rise. She's the star of the new Barry Manilow musical called And Then There Was Harmony. And also Susan Blakely is in this movie. It's an exquisite movie. And directed by my friend Mark Saltarelli, and I wanted to show you a little clip.
You made me love you. I didn't want to do it. I didn't
don't
want
believe you.
to do it.
Again.
Miss Alice Martin, you look like you're about to meet friends for cocktails at the Waldorf Astoria.
I never live in the past, dear. Do you know that my name was on both sides of the marquee on Broadway? My name, Alice Martin.
I'm not the real thing. She was the real thing.
You have to be able to sing anywhere, any place, and under any circumstance.
The important thing is that you're doing it. And what if she's better than you ever were?
Impossible. I was a star.
You made me love you. I didn't want to do it.
I loved you so
I
much.
didn't
I
want
know.
to do
Why
it.
else would I still be here after all these years? Come on, sweetie. It's almost showtime.
Got the brand of kisses that I die for. You know you made
Last night was a momentary lapse.
love you. Alice, give us some of that old magic.
Go away.
Okay, possibly one of my favorite things in life is when she goes, "Go away." Maybe I should put a new bumper on the end of this broadcast every week. Go away. I love that so much. All right, so that's my pal Mark, who has helped me from the beginning. He edited the opening sequence that we use and the closing sequence, and I call on him so often for video work. And he is a tireless and generous friend. So And it's a really, really, really good movie. So if you're in Los Angeles, February 28th,
I'd like to
check it out. All right, Jackie. Well, we are coming to the end of our broadcast. Is there anything else you want to say specifically about our little project?
Oh, I'm just hoping that we reach enough people out there, to, like you said, to have this be a continuous type of happening.
Yes, we already have some things lined up.
Exactly.
We have
already
at least 2 recipients that we're planning on.
2 more people also that we would really like to have a great show for, and using their people as far as their influences and their comrades in music as well to be part of that show for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, let me thank everybody here involved at the Global Voice Broadcasting. Thank you for being here with us today, Jackie. So
Thank
appreciate
you for having
it.
me. It's a pleasure.
I'd like to thank once again my brother for bringing us to NAAM, and my good friend Mark for carting his camera around and making the movie with us. I'd like to thank our landlord here and my good friend and client, Mr. Todd Murray. Who has a gig for Valentine's Day. You know, Todd is very handsome, romantic singer who does a show called Croon that I collaborated with him on, and he has a Valentine's booking in Richmond, Virginia, I think, right? Do you know, Gabe? Is that where he is? I think so. I think it's Richmond, Virginia. So if you're in Richmond, Virginia, go see Todd. He's the perfect Valentine's Day show.
That's cool.
And I'd like to thank my associate producer, Trisha Trippett, who's currently working on another show today, but she will be back with us soon. And as always, I'd like to thank the operations manager of Global Voice Broadcasting and my personal in-studio engineer, Gabe Harder. And tell me your name. Peter. And Peter, you're an intern, right? Yep. All right, you're not on camera, but hey, here's our new intern, Peter. Thank you for helping out. All right, I think that's it. Thanks. See you all next week.
And so it seems that we have met before and laughed before and loved before, but who knows?